Teddy wakes up with full amnesia. Rinna gives a play-by-play. The ladies go to an archery. Erica forgives Teddy. Erica forgives Kyle. They pack up to go back to Beverly Hills. They're back in Beverly Hills. Thank God. All right. This is Troy J. Robertson back with FabFitFun for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills episode 20 recap. As always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the video down below. Comment, let me know what you think. And let's get into it, shall we? Last night's Issa look is going to Dorit for her floor-length, see-through, floral-type lace blouse. All black with black hot shorts on underneath. She had that updo. She had that hairpiece to the side. She's got knee-high boots. It was a moment. Kudos to you, Dorit. It's a look. Last night's quote of the night. I'm gonna be honest with you. There was a few, but last night's winner is going to Rinna the morning after when they were still in Provence, and she says, "I'm just impressed that Teddy's even upright, let alone remembers the night." And a little bit more insightful quote of the night that's an honorable mention is gonna go to Erika Jayne when she says to Teddy, "But you know who tells the truth? Drunks and children." I thought that was a little bit of true tea, if you know what I'm saying. Let's get into Troy's titillating topics. Topic number 1, I usher in the morally corrupt Faye Resnick. But did anyone notice that on last week's promo for last night's episode, they showed Kyle and Faye Resnick talking about Camille and the situation, and Faye said something to the effect of, "I think she maybe will come out on the other side of this a nicer person." But when the episode aired last night, that scene was cut and it was just a very short 10 to 15 second clip with Kyle and Faye, and they didn't discuss the Camille thing at all. A little bit of an editing faux pas on their part. I caught that. Did anybody else catch that? Let me know what you think down below about that. Topic number 2. After much anticipation, Dorit is finally launching the Teddy bathing suit and the Camille cover-up. Now, catch this right here. The Camille cover-up is a mesh cover-up that's got tons of holes in it, to which they have said it's ironic because Camille is always covering up her tracks and her story always has holes in it. Topic number 3. Dorit rearranging the store window when she was not impressed with it at the Kitson storefront. And I just want to know what everyone thinks down below. Did they see a significant difference? Because I feel like she just moved the child mannequin in the middle and put it in a inner tube or something like that. Like, there was not a significant difference. And at the end, she goes, "Oh, so much better." And the staff just looks around and they go, "It looks insane." Like, that's just what they're thinking in their head. I can totally tell. All right, let's get into this week's recap. The ladies end their trip in France and they head back to Beverly Hills. It definitely was a necessary end to the trip. And so when they get back, they're greeting Denise and Camille after the Malibu fires, and they head out to dinner, and Camille throws a little bit of a season 1 dig. It was just, I've said this a lot during this season, and it might seem like I'm raking Camille over the coals, and I'm not trying to do that. It's just, she has made it impossible not to comment on some of her commentary. And I know that when they're in their confessions, they're asked things by the producers and they're baited. Like, they don't just automatically come out and say these things, they're asked these things. And so I'm not blaming it on the editing. Camille goes, "I don't think Denise realizes that she is very lucky that her rented home is okay." And I know what she meant by it. She might not have meant it mean. Unfortunately, it came off very, very pernicious. I'm using a Camille season 1 word. It was very Machiavellian, another season 1 Camille word. And it didn't have a nice tone to it. And so while the disaster towards Camille's house was greater than Denise's rented home in Malibu, was that necessary? Like, I don't know. I think that Denise has been very kind to her, and I think that Camille is also going to come back and regret that, because during the dinner later on in the episode, when they're kind of unloading on Camille about everything, you hear Denise saying, "This isn't the right time for this. She just lost her home." So, I don't know. I think she's really going to regret that little bit of a statement. All throughout the entire episode, as they discuss the Malibu fires, I just would like to say that Denise's chill and her ability to give 0 Fs and just look at everything in such an optimistic light, and she's very glass half full. I admire that a lot, and I think that more people should strive to do that. So we get to the Beverly Beach opening. Obviously, all of the ladies are attending. We've got some husbands there. LVP is not in attendance, of course, as we know. We've got a little bit of digs being thrown. We've got a little bit of shade. You know, Camille says, genius for her opening, there was a garbage bag. Like, it wasn't a garbage bag, it was black tarp. And I don't know. I think that as we get to the dinner and Camille starts to discuss some of these things that we don't know, we're not privy to some of these things. I think that we start to understand what Camille's issue is with Dorit. And I think that there's just things that are outside of filming, that are in real life, that are not during this season or any season of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, that explain Camille's disdain towards Dorit. Like, there's personal things that are going on outside of filming that explain her opinions of Dorit, that's for sure. And so as we get to the dinner after the reveal, Rinna politely kind of just brings up how their feelings were hurt leaving the Hawaii trip and being in the bus, and that article about LVP coming out. Then from there, it just opens up the floodgates. And I don't want to say everyone unloaded, but, you know, Rinna gave her opinion, and then it goes on to Teddy, and Teddy kind of lets her know what she thinks, as you will. And we've got Denise in the background again saying, like, you guys, she just lost her home. Now Camille saying, like, listen, I've said some things about you girls. I'm sure that you girls have said plenty of things about me. Teddy calls her a flip-flopper, and to which Camille says, listen, if I'm a flip-flopper, you're a know-it-all. Like, you stay in your lane, I'll stay in my lane. I flip-flop, you're a know-it-all. Like, I'm gonna give it right back to you. And I liked Camille. I will say that I loved Camille in this situation because she was saying, do not use what's going on with my house as a band-aid to not let me know what you really think. Like, if something's going on, call it to the carpet. Let me know. Remove the fact that my life is in shambles right now and let me know what's going on, because it's gonna come out anyway, whether I have a house or not. The episode then ends with Camille letting all the ladies and all the viewers know that the reason why she has made some comments about Dorit is because there's something going on personal, and it's basically that she doesn't feel like all of Dorit and PK's money is real, because apparently they filed bankruptcy in 2008, so 10 plus years ago. When you file business bankruptcy, it is different than when I think you file personal bankruptcy, and so some of your personal assets are protected. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know the ins and outs of this case. I'm just merely discussing what I think, meaning on how somebody can come and rise up from the ashes after a bankruptcy. And so then we've got Camille saying, listen, regardless of that, I don't want to say what I really know, and I'm protecting you. And Dorit's like, you're threatening me. And she's like, no, I'm not threatening you, I'm protecting you. But she's saying it on air. We've got Denise saying, listen, it didn't need to be talked at the dinner table. We know that that's code for it didn't need to be talked about on camera. And finally, Camille just comes out and says it. Like, you might have filed bankruptcy, but I know for a fact there's a personal friend of mine that PK owes millions of dollars to. You know, Camille is claiming, like, I didn't want to say this. Maybe Dorit didn't know any of this. Maybe she doesn't know all of her husband's business dealings. But regardless, I know this to be fact. Obviously, Dorit is not claiming that any of it's true. And I just think, again, that this is part of the reason why Camille has such a bone to pick with Dorit. Like, there's something going on outside of this that we just aren't privy to. And now we are privy to. And I bet you what, we're going to be privy even more to it when it comes to the reunion, because Andy ain't letting this one go by any means. So, in this situation, I do want all of you to let me know something. What do you think? Do you think that Camille, like, if you're being pushed to a ledge, just kind of come out and say it? Or do you think that Camille should have just not baited Dorit in this situation and should have just not said any of this? Let me know what you think down below. That's it for this week's episode. Let's get into the Rose and Thorn. This week's Rose is Rinna and Teddy at the first dinner with all the girls, bringing like bags of clothes and pajamas and little small gifts for Denise and Camille. I thought that that was really thoughtful, considering that they, you know, lost tons of stuff in the fire and things were ruined by smoke and soot damage. So this was super thoughtful, I thought. This week's Thorn is Camille not being able to catch a break. Her dear friend and assistant Scott, who she's known for 20 plus years, I think. She's filmed with him multiple times on camera, you know, this season as well as in previous seasons. She lost him, he passed away, and I just feel like with Camille, she takes 3 steps forward and always gets knocked 5 steps back, and I know how difficult that can be, and life's hard as it is, and to go through a fire and then Scott passing, I just felt really bad for Camille in this, so that's this week's thorn. As all of you know from last night's episode, we are taking a week off next week, and the week after that, so it'll be the Tuesday after the holiday next week, it'll be Tuesday, July 9th. That will be the season finale. I hope that everyone enjoys their weekend. I hope everyone enjoys their July 4th holiday next week, and before I exit, what do we all think? Do we think that this was planned to take a week off next week? And also, did anyone see the preview for next week? It seems like it was filmed a little bit later than when the season would have naturally ended. Also, we now know that Dorit and Camille's drama has come to a head, and at Andy's baby shower back in January, that was the first time I think that they saw one another since the season stopped filming, and there was a lot of awkward tension between them, and it was said that they really didn't speak to one another. Do we think that this has been overlined since then? Just let me know what you think. Like, what's going on outside of filming? That's it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, this is Troy J. Robertson. I'll see all of you back in 2 weeks. Have a great weekend. Over and out.